High school football, Alabama's Before the Game, presented by Northeast Orthopedics on a Thursday night. We are talking about region play in high school football. It kicks off this week. We'll detail every region game in East Alabama and more coming up next. It is high school football, Alabama's Before the Game, presented by Northeast Orthopedics. John Holder, Tommy Wood on this Thursday night, getting ready for region play in the Alabama High School Athletic Association. Just about everybody in region play in East Alabama. Some Thursday night games going on, but most of the games coming up tomorrow night. And Tommy, we got a full slate of play. Some interesting games coming up this week. A
lot of first games in the region. And when you talk about in the state of Alabama, if you want to play in November, you've got to win some games in September. All that kicks off this weekend. Should be an interesting weekend of high school football.
No game more interesting than the first one we have for you tonight. A lot of storylines in this game between Sylvania and Piedmont. Sylvania number 9, Piedmont number 8 in Class 3A. It's a region game. This is a rematch of last year's 3A semifinal game that Piedmont won easily at the Field of Champions. Of course, they also played a region game in this same week a year ago. Piedmont won that game very easily. Some differences, though. First thing is, Piedmont's going to Sylvania this time. Both of those games last year were at the Field of Champions. Also, Sylvania only lost one player off of last year's team, one starter. Piedmont lost 21 starters off that team last year. So this is going to be a vastly different Piedmont team, basically the same Sylvania team. So the question is, how does that all shake out tomorrow night at Sylvania?
Well, I think you're right. Sylvania's playing some good football, and that's basically because of that experience. They've got a lot of guys back, as you said. They are playing really well, defeating Sachs last week. Now, on the other side, Piedmont didn't get off to a good start against Cherokee County last week. They're looking to avoid their first 0-2 start since 2004.
Going to be a great game up there. Quarterbacks that are kind of in opposite places right now. Piedmont's got a brand new quarterback in Cole Wilson. He's a guy who basically only completed 4 out of 14 passes last week. Meanwhile, Josh Turner of Sylvania against Sachs in that 49-14 win at Jack Stewart Field through 5 touchdown passes. Should be a very interesting game coming up tomorrow night up in Sylvania. Now, let's talk about our next game on the agenda. That is Ragland and Donahoe. Ragland playing pretty good right now. 1-1, had a big win over Southeastern. Donahoe's 0-2, but that may be a little bit deceiving. They played out of class. They played a 3A. They played a 2A, and I think they played a pretty solid 3A in Weaver and a pretty solid 2A in Pleasant Valley, but they're 0-2, Ragland 1-1.
Well, the big problem right now for Donahoe is defense. They're just not able to slow anybody down, so that is a big key for them if they can kind of get the ship righted in that area. But you look on the other side, and you've got a team that's playing with a lot of momentum after that win last week.
Well, one team that is really playing some good football right now early in the season is the Oxford High School Yellow Jackets. Oxford now hits the road again after an impressive win at home last week against Huntsville, 35-6. They're going over to the Nix Athletic Complex in Irondale to take on the Shades Valley Mounties. But we said if they could beat Huntsville last week, which they did, that Oxford, we thought would be maybe 4-0 going into a big region game in a few weeks at Pinson Valley. I think Oxford is the favorite. They're 10-1 all time against Shades Valley. I think they're the favorite again tomorrow night.
Well, and you look at on the Oxford side, Mason Mims has done a great job at quarterback here in these first couple of games. Kamar Hampton, 3 touchdowns last week. They're playing extremely well. And, on the other side, Shades Valley still searching for an identity. They did get a win against Fairfield last week, but that Oxford train right now is really hitting on all cylinders.
Well, the punting game has been an adventure for the Anniston Bulldogs. The punting game last year may have ultimately cost them a state championship in Class 4A, and the punting game last week cost them dearly. 2 terrible situations that led directly to points against Andalusia. Anniston dropped that game 39-0 down at Andalusia. Still ranked in the top 10 in Class 4A. They come back home to Lot Mosby Memorial Stadium against a Munford team, Tommy, that had an open date last week and has had 2 weeks to get ready for this visit to Anniston.
Well, the last time we saw Munford, they fell late in the game to Childersburg, suffered that loss. They've worked on that the last couple of weeks. Had a chance to scout Anniston, I'm sure, last week. A lot of folks are asking the question, hey, is Anniston not as good, or is Andalusia really good? I'll tend to say Andalusia is a really good football team. Last week, Anniston only 152 yards of offense, so that's something that you got. The offense for Anniston's got to get some big plays this week.
We'll have highlights of that game coming up tomorrow night on After the Game right here on Facebook and YouTube at 10 o'clock tomorrow night. Well, Coach Freeney, Alfonso Freeney, the head football coach of the Sachs Wildcats, looking for his first win as the head coach at Sachs. And he's got a really good opportunity, I think, to do this. He goes on the road to play at Beulah against the Bobcats. Beulah at the bottom of this Class 3A Region 4 last year. It's a great opportunity for Sachs to get a win. And Tommy, they've had a couple of tough weeks. They played two really tough football teams in Ohatchee and Sylvania last week. Now they've got a chance to go on the road and maybe pick up their first win of the Freeney era at Beulah.
And Beulah's a long way down there, but let me tell you, Beulah's offense has really struggled. Last week, only 99 yards against Lochapoka. They are really struggling to get some offense going. Sachs Wildcats with an excellent chance to go down there and get a big W.
Battle of the Cats, Wildcats, and Bobcats down in Lee County coming up tomorrow night. Now, another big battle that's going on. This has become all of a sudden a marquee game here in East Alabama. The Ohatchee Indians and the Westbrook Christian Warriors on the Creek Bank at Ohatchee. 3A Region 6, a huge game coming up. Both these teams undefeated. Westbrook coming off an open date. They're 1-0. Ohatchee 2-0 with impressive wins over Sachs and Walter Welborn. This, I think, every game in 3A Region 6, Tommy, when we look back at the end of the season, is going to be key. This is one of those. We will be there and have highlights of this game. And the head coach of the Ohatchee Indians, Chris Finley, will join us live tomorrow night on After the Game. Your take on Ohatchee and Westbrook?
Well, I tell you what, anytime you go to the Creek Bank, it's going to be tough. And Westbrook Christian, again, trying to go in there and steal a win against this Indian team that averages right at 350 yards of offense a game. Nate Jones, 150 yards last week. They've got a great offense. They're hitting well right now for the Indians. It's going to be a great game on the Creek Bank.
They've always had some three-headed monsters out of Ohatchee, and I think they've got another three-headed monster, Jake Robertson. Of course, you mentioned Nate Jones there, Jesse Baswell. They've got a lot of weapons. Should be a great game with Westbrook coming up on the Creek Bank tomorrow night. My crew will be at Death Valley in Alexandria. This is the home opener for the Valley Cubs, and the schedule gets no easier. They played the number 2 team in the state to begin the season in Cherokee County on the road. They go on the road to Jacksonville to take on a Jacksonville Golden Eagle team ranked number 5 in 4A. Now they get the number 5 team in 5A coming in to Lou Scales Stadium, an undefeated Moody team. Just a brutal schedule for Alexandria, but Moody has shown some invincibility, I guess you would say. They've shown some little dings in the armor the last couple of weeks. So Alexandria back home at Death Valley, new starting quarterback and Jacob Wheeler. So this is kind of turned into an interesting game.
I think so too. Moody is not playing its best football right now. This is not the same team we saw last year, but they have plenty of time to try to iron those kinks out. But I don't think they're hitting on all cylinders yet. On the other side, Alexandria extremely young, especially in the secondary, as they take on the Moody Blue Devils.
Well, you talk about two teams that are not the same as they were a year ago, and that applies, I think, to both of these teams, Dadeville and Weaver. Weaver going down to Tiger Stadium in Dadeville to take on the Tigers. Of course, Dadeville was a phenomenal team last year, but they had a lot of losses off of that team, a lot to graduation. And then you got a Weaver team that we have seen beat and dominate Donahoe. They were in the game, came down to the wire against Glencoe. It's a different Weaver team. Tommy, can Weaver go to Dadeville and pull off what I think everybody would say would be an upset?
I really think they can. I think that Weaver's playing extremely hard. They are giving you 4 quarters, and you can tell by the scores the last couple of weeks. There's a new attitude. I think that Weaver's playing extremely tough. Dadeville, they lost to B.B. Comer a couple of weeks ago. Jay Burns is their leader. He'll play quarterback. He'll play tailback. He'll play some wide receiver, and in the secondary, he's a really do-it-all kind of guy for Dadeville. But I see right now that the way Weaver's playing, they've got an excellent shot.
Well, with Caden Gooden, you turn him loose and get him hot on a Friday night, anything could happen. Perhaps the premier game, I could think that probably is the premier game in all of East Alabama, is this one coming up right here. Handley, Jacksonville. Handley, number 6 in the state in Class 4A. Jacksonville, number 5. Both of these teams 2-0, and they've played a pretty tough schedule. Handley's played an extremely tough schedule. Impressive wins against Valley on the road, beating defending Class 3A state champion and number 1 ranked St. James impressively last week. Jacksonville, though, beating Boaz on the road, impressively winning at home against Alexandria last week. This is a game that features 2 of the best quarterbacks, Tommy, in all of East Alabama. The thing is that front 7 of Handley. That's the problem. Can Jacksonville's young, inexperienced offensive line, Can they hold up enough and give Jim Ogle a chance to throw some balls out of there?
That is the big key. I've talked to folks that say that Handley's front seven defensively is as good as anyone class 1A through 6A. A lot of high praise for that defensive front. They've been playing together for a long time. Offensively, they got E.J. Goss. He had 4 touchdowns last week. Ogle, of course, threw for 400, and he's got some players on the outside that can make some things happen in Fisher and Sinclair. So it is going to be a great matchup. It will be worth the price of admission to see these two go head-to-head.
We are just getting warmed up here, but I'll tell you some folks that are already warmed up this season. Northeast Orthopedics. Let me tell you about Northeast Orthopedics. They have 7 skilled surgeons, but they also have 6 locations all across East and Northeast Alabama, including their newest location, which is on Pelham Road South in Jacksonville. And they also are now the exclusive sports injury provider. They provide all the sports medicine and training for Jacksonville State University and Jacksonville High School as well. Northeast Orthopedics, sports clinic and physical therapy. Of course, their Gadsden office has that sports injury clinic. It's taking place on Saturday morning, so go check that out. Northeast Orthopedics, keeping you moving. We'll be back as we preview more games in East Alabama on Before the Game, presented by Northeast Orthopedics.
Whether you're cheering for your team or chasing a personal fitness goal, nothing is more frustrating than an injury that keeps you from the things you love. At Northeast Orthopedics, we understand that life is constantly moving, and we are committed to making sure you keep moving as well. No matter your orthopedic need, Northeast Orthopedics has you covered with 6 convenient locations and 7 highly skilled surgeons. Visit us at northeastorthopedics.com for more information. Northeast Orthopedics, keeping you in motion.
Dedication to the people of this area and involvement in the issues that matter most to his constituents. These are the characteristics of State Representative Randy Wood. Randy was a small business owner for almost 4 decades. He's a member of the Weaver Lions Club, Fraternal Order of Police, and served 6 years in the Alabama National Guard. State Representative Randy Wood, proudly serving the people of District 36 since 2002.
It's been almost a year since East Alabama Now Local News began telling you what was happening in your community and on your street.
That's right. Local makes such a difference. And the great part is you can participate with us. Every weekday evening around 6:30 on either Facebook or YouTube, East Alabama Now Local News comes straight to you. Be sure to join us. Visit us on our Facebook page or our YouTube page. It's not local without you. Your news on your schedule.
East Alabama Now is your newest source for everything news, sports, and weather in East Alabama. EAN Local News, that is the place to go to get all your local news. Of course, we have great anchors there with Mike Stedham and Katie Edwards. Sports with Chase Robinson and yours truly, John Holder. I'll be there to give you the weather forecast every day. We have morning weather forecasts, and of course, in the evenings, we also have our EAN Complete newscast coming up. Check us out, Facebook and YouTube, EAN Local News, EastAlabamaNow.com if you want to find out some more information. We're back on Before the Game, presented by Northeast Orthopedics. John Holder, Tommy Wood with you on this Thursday night as we continue looking at games across East Alabama. Another game that we will have highlights of tomorrow night on After the Game here on Facebook and YouTube is a game out at Pleasant Valley. Pleasant Valley and West End. This is always a big game for Pleasant Valley head coach Jonathan Nix because West End is his alma mater. Pleasant Valley has a chance for the first time in 13 years to maybe make the playoffs this year. I think they can in 2A Region 6, but I think this is a game that they maybe can win and they need to win to make the playoffs, I think they've got a shot with West End.
Well, I totally agree. I think last week Pleasant Valley showed they can move the football on the ground. They created turnovers, even had a special team touchdown. I think Pleasant Valley has an excellent chance. West End's 1-1. They fell to Susan Moore last week. So, again, the Raiders hosting them there, that's a big home field advantage, so it's going to be a lot of fun to see about how this one hands out.
Home opener for Pleasant Valley after being on the road and a very impressive 40-0 win at Donahoe last week. Another team that had a big win last week, there was a big celebration going on all up and down I-20. Cleburne County went over to Tuscaloosa County, beat Northside in a thrilling win, and now Cleburne County, they're going on the road again, this time to Mary Dumas Stadium in Talladega for a region game in Class 4A Region 4 with the Talladega Tigers. Talladega had an open date last week. Cleburne County, Tommy, has an excellent opportunity here to go to 2-0, and I know the folks in Heflin are excited. If they go to 2-0, they're going to be real excited for that home opener coming up next week.
A huge, you can't say how huge this win was for Cleburne County. Joby Burns and the staff, they have been celebrating all week, just enjoying the huge win over Northside. Jake Dingler, we talked about him a little bit earlier in the year. 13 tackles. He also had 75 yards rushing. He was, as one of the players said, he struck fear into Northside last weekend. So, again, he's leading that defense. Cleburne County's playing extremely well. Talladega leads this series, 5 wins to 2. So, again, the Tigers hosting them. And so, again, you're going to have an interesting matchup there in this region showdown.
Cleburne County trying to build some momentum, keep the momentum going. A team that had some momentum and lost it last week, their neighbors right down Highway 46. And that we're talking about the Ranburne Bulldogs. Ranburne is going to be back at home this week. Fayetteville comes in. Fayetteville's 1-0. Ranburne had the tough loss to a good Wadley team. But this is kind of the game where who can get off to the best start in this Class 2A Region 4? Who can do that? Is it going to be Ranburne? Is it going to be Fayetteville? But I think an interesting matchup coming up at Harlan Robinson Stadium.
Yeah, I think so. Fayetteville last week puts up 50 points against Verbena. Talked to Coach Stephen Bailey at Ranburne this week and asked him, he said, well, if we don't tackle any better, they'll put up more than 50 against us. I think they had a tough time tackling Wadley last week. Defensively, could not get off the field. They're going to have to improve there. But, again, a very key matchup in this region to open up region play.
It seems like this is the week where Cleburne and Randolph counties play Talladega County. Cleburne County's playing Talladega. Ranburne is playing a Talladega County team. And Woodland is also playing a Talladega County team. And not just any Talladega County team. They're taking on B.B. Comer at Legion Stadium in Sylacauga tomorrow night. And, of course, this week, B.B. Comer, after the loss by Fife last week, is now your new #1 team in the state, Tommy, in Class 2A, a monumental challenge for Woodland going into Legion Stadium.
And Comer has not been the #1 team in the state since 1996, so they take over that top ranking. On the other side, you got Woodland, 6 turnovers last week. They gave up 2 punt returns, had a couple of picks, just really had a tough night against Randolph County, which I think is a very good team as well. But a tough task for the Woodland Bobcats heading over to B.B. Comer.
This next game is not a top 10 matchup, but Tommy, I think it should be because I really think these two teams are two of the top 1A teams in the state of Alabama. We're talking about the matchup coming up. We'll have that game in just a moment. But Childersburg and Randolph County. Childersburg at home had the big loss to B.B. Comer last week. Randolph County is a team that I think it should be ranked in the top 10 of the state. They are very quietly, we talked about this before, Pat Prestridge and his team very quietly sitting over there with a really good football team. And no one in the state of Alabama is talking about Randolph County, but this is a team that I think right now, if you look at Class 3A Region 4, I think they're the favorite to win this thing after a couple of weeks of play.
When Randolph County is at their best, it's those seasons where nobody really gives them a chance, and that's exactly how this is starting out. Nobody had a lot of buzz about the Tigers to open up the year. Of course, last week they get 41-0 win over Woodland, but from what I understand, a very physical Randolph County Tiger team, and in the trenches, both sides of the football, they can dominate. Childersburg put up some points last week, but again, taking on Randolph County, which to me is a sleeping giant in this class.
Yeah, Childersburg's a better football team. Childersburg beat Munford. Of course, no fault at all losing to B.B. Comer, so this should be an interesting game. But Randolph County making some noise over on the state line. Now let's talk about that game that I was referencing earlier, that game coming up in Class 1A between Spring Garden and Wadley. Spring Garden lost last week to Coosa, but let me tell you, they lost 21-6, but Spring Garden had in essence, 6 turnovers, 5 turnovers, then they had a miscue in the kick game as well. Wadley is 2-0, and Wadley has, I can't figure out why they're not in the top 10. They have been very impressive. Blew out Horseshoe Bend, blew out Ranburne last week, a good Ranburne team. They've got Jaquez Wilkes, 10th grade running back, who probably is as good as anybody as far as just a football player in Class 1A football. Last year, turnovers, that was a problem for Spring Garden last year. It was a problem for Spring Garden last week. If they clean up the turnovers, this could be a well of a ball game. But if Spring Garden goes to Wadley, Tommy, and they have 5 turnovers this week, Wadley's going to win that game.
Yeah, they're going to have an excellent chance to win that ball game. We talk about Jaquez Wilkes a lot, 6'4", 225 pounds as a running back. But talking to Stephen Bailey, as I said, from Ranburne, who played Wadley, he said, look, he's as big of a threat defensively as he is offensively. They said he is just outstanding on the defensive side of the ball, and had a chance to look at some of the Wadley film. Look, they're huge all over the field. That is a big 1A team. So Wadley is a great talent. And as you said, Spring Garden, if they can clean up the turnovers, this could be anybody's game.
When you're 0-2 and not playing well and you've been blown out a couple of times, Tommy, the next game you see on your schedule is that you want to see is not Central Clay County. Tallahassee is 0-2. They really haven't been close. And now you go in to take on a Clay Central team who you saw last week in person. Beat Ben Russell at the Sportsplex 30-13. And Tommy, they were better, I think, than anybody even thought they were going to be in that game against Ben Russell.
Well, when you look back at the stats in time of possession, Clay Central had it 34 of 48 minutes. The Benjamin Russell offense really never got on the field. They couldn't get on track. And offensively, the thing that impressed me, Clay Central, a 5A team, you don't see this a lot of times. They switched to the wishbone and really never got out of it. They stayed in the wishbone, 2 tight ends, and ran right at Benjamin Russell all night. Plays were getting 3, 4, 5 yards, and they just dominated. I mean, both sides of the football. On the other side, you've got Tallahassee. They lost 3 in what we're calling the high school transfer portal during the offseason, but they lost 3 guys that were 3 of their best players. They are really struggling right now down in Tallahassee. They're giving up about 40-something points a game, and really offensively just can't get things going. Talking to some of the folks from down at Tallahassee, very frustrating times right now. And again, you look back, if you lose 3 of your best players, it's going to be a rebuilding situation.
We mentioned a couple of Thursday night games across East Alabama. One of those going on tonight is the game at Legion Stadium in Sylacauga between Sylacauga and Elmore County. And now, Sylacauga's 0-2, but they made big strides last week, lost 31-17 at home to state-ranked Moody. But Elmore County, Tommy, is kind of emerging as one of the surprise teams in Class 5A. As a matter of fact, Elmore County is the leading scoring team in the state, period, in all classifications. They are averaging 59 points a game coming into Sylacauga tonight.
Yeah, they can put up the points, and we found out last week they can play a little defense too. They take on Autaugaville and hold them to a state record negative 111 yards.
Wow.
And that's incredible to hold somebody. Only 1 first down given up to Autaugaville the whole game, so they can play a little defense too. They're putting up points. They are really playing well. And on the other side, like I said, I think Sylacauga, though, can really give Elmore County some trouble. They are getting better. The way they played Moody last week, that's going to be a great game tonight.
Everybody knows in about 48 hours that Texas is coming to the state of Alabama. Yeah, Texas is coming. You know who else is coming to the state of Alabama? Folks may not have known this. Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. The Oklahoma School for the Deaf is coming to play at ASD at the exact same time. This is a 7 o'clock kickoff at Kiwanis Field in Talladega on Saturday night. Last year, ASD goes out to Sulphur, Oklahoma, and they win the game, but now Oklahoma makes the long road trip to Talladega.
Yeah, and let's say we don't research, man. Oklahoma School for the Deaf, only 1 senior on their roster as they come to town this week. ASD's got a lot of seniors. They got more experience, and Oklahoma gets the win over Mississippi School for the Deaf to go 1-1 on the year. So going to be a great matchup. ASD with a chance to get a huge win.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to continue looking at all the games in East Alabama. We're only about halfway through on this football Thursday night. We'll be back with more before the game, presented by Northeast Orthopedics.
Dedication to the people of this area and involvement in the issues that matter most to his constituents. These are the characteristics of State Representative Randy Wood. Randy was a small business owner for almost 4 decades. He's a member of the Weaver Lions Club, Fraternal Order of Police, and served 6 years in the Alabama National Guard. State Representative Randy Wood, proudly serving the people of District 36 since 2002.
It's been almost a year since East Alabama Now local news began telling you what was happening in your community and on your street.
That's right, local makes such a difference. And the great part is you can participate with us. Every weekday evening around 6:30 on either Facebook or YouTube, East Alabama Now local news comes straight to you. Be sure to join us. Visit us on our Facebook page or our YouTube page. It's not local without you. Your news on your schedule.
Whether you're cheering for your team or chasing a personal fitness goal, nothing is more frustrating than an injury that keeps you from the things you love. At Northeast Orthopedics, we understand that life is constantly moving, and we are committed to making sure you keep moving as well. No matter your orthopedic need, Northeast Orthopedics has you covered with 6 convenient locations and 7 highly skilled surgeons. Visit us at northeastorthopedics.com for more information. Northeast Orthopedics, keeping you in motion.
High school football, Alabama's before the game, presented by Northeast Orthopedics. John Holder, Tommy Wood with you on this Thursday night as we continue looking at every game going on across East Alabama. We're picked back up in Talladega County. Another region matchup. We're in region play. Talladega County Central and Victory Christian taking place over in the Eden area of Pell City. Talladega County Central on a long losing streak. That's been documented. They're 0-2. Victory Christian had a big win last week against Whitesburg Christian to get their first win of the year. An important region game for both of these teams over in St. Clair County.
Yeah, Coach Terry Etheridge getting his first win at Victory Christian last week. On the other side, we talked to Arcadia Garrett of TCC during the summer, and he said, hey, defensively, we've just not tackled anybody in 4 years. Defense is still the trouble in TC. They're giving up about 40 points a game, and in order to get in that win column, they're going to have to shore up the defense.
I think this next game is one of the most interesting games in all of East Alabama this week. We're going to have highlights of this game coming up tomorrow night on After the Game here on Facebook and YouTube. The Lincoln Golden Bears at home. They are 2-0 right now. Lincoln has been very impressive after that win against Asheville last week. Taking on the Southside Panthers. Southside makes the journey down Highway 77 to Keith Howler Memorial Stadium. Southside with a big win over Oaks Bluff last week. But in the midst of things, Miles Holcomb team, they lost Gage Neesmith, who is a second-team All-State Class 5A quarterback last year, lost for the season with a torn ACL. That really limits the offense, I think, at Southside. They can run the football. Neesmith was a good runner. He had an 85-yard touchdown run last week against Oaks Bluff, and he was running the football and picked up good yardage, about 9 or 10 yards when he was injured on that play, I think in the third quarter of that game over at Barney Hood Stadium. Without him, Southside now has an inexperienced quarterback, so there's a lot of mystery to this. Boy, if Lincoln could win this game, this is another region game in Class 3A, 5A Region 6. This could be a really huge win for the Lincoln Golden Bears. I think this is maybe the most important game of the year for Lincoln and Southside.
Totally agree. I think that Lincoln last year, of course, at this time, we flash back 12 months, they were 2-0 at this time as well. Then they fell to Southside and then only won 2 more games and finished 4-6 on the year. So this is a big turning point for the Golden Bears if they can get a win. On the other side, you've got Southside. They've got to rely on Mason Teague to get some offense going. He will be the bell cow for that team.
Mason Teague had a huge game rushing the football against Oaks Bluff last week. They'll need another big game out of him against the Lincoln Golden Bears. We journey on down I-20 from Lincoln. And, boy, talk about a tough schedule. Pell City opens up with state-ranked teams in Moody and Pell City, but they gave both of those teams all they wanted. But, Tommy, this is the number 2 team in Class 6A, Clay Chalkville. As talented a team as you're going to find in any class in this state coming in to Pell City. Clay Chalkville has beaten Pell City 9 straight. They're ranked number 2 in the state. They were upset in the first round of the playoffs last year. So it's a hungry Clay Chalkville team as well coming in to take on Rush Probst and Pell City.
Well, and you talk about Clay Chalkville. How many years do we talk about their offense? They had great quarterbacks, great running backs. This year it's the defense. They've only given up 3 points in the first 2 games. Defensively, they're playing extremely well. Pell City, playing close, but you know Coach Rush Probst wants that first win.
We continue going down I-20 as we make our way westward. Actually, we're going to take I-20 and then 59 a little bit north. Springville Tiger Stadium, number 10 Leeds coming in. Another region game here. Leeds has been a little bit underwhelming this year. They start off with an upset loss at the hands of Mortimer Jordan. Struggled last week with Pell City. And Springville is a team that's playing some really good football because look at this. Springville beat Etowah. And then Springville only lost by a touchdown last week to that same Mortimer Jordan team. So this could be a great football game at Tiger Stadium in Springville.
That's what I was looking at, too. When you compare the common opponent, of course, of Mortimer Jordan, 31-28 one score, and then a touchdown difference, this is a very evenly matched ball game. So it's going to be a lot of fun to see how this one shakes out. Again, a region win early is huge for both of these teams.
Staying in St. Clair County, this matchup is getting a lot of attention because of some news coming out of Attala, and that is that Matt Glover, the head coach of the Etowah Blue Devils, just within the last 24 hours, has been placed on administrative leave, and he is not coaching the football team. Blake Bone, who's the baseball coach, is stepping up, and according to the statement from the Attala City Board of Education, he is in complete control in running this football team. Now they have to take this football team on the road to play at Asheville. The Raymond Farmer Bowl, they call this, because Raymond Farmer, the legendary coach, was head coach at both of these schools for a long time. Both teams 0-2. They both need a win. This, with all that's kind of going on right now at Etowah and so forth, this could be an interesting game over at Ken Logan Stadium.
Yeah, you look at Etowah, they're 0-2 for the first time since 2015. Defense has really struggled. On the other side, Asheville defense, same story. They're giving up 40 points a game. I think the win here may go to the team that figures out defense first.
We kind of covered the South. Let's start covering the north part of East Alabama. And with that, we're going to take you to our next game, which Sandrock has opened up with a tough schedule, and it does not get any easier. They go up to Sand Mountain to take on the Pisgah Eagles in Jackson County. Pisgah now the number 3 team in the state in Class 2A. It was a team that also went to the semifinals last year in 2A with a lot of returnees coming back. Sandrock, a team again that had a bunch of turnovers last week. I think 5 turnovers in that game against Cedar Bluff.
Yeah, and giving up 40 points. It seems to be the story of the night, but they've got to figure that out on the Sandrock side. And, it's just got to take its time. You got a lot of new players, a lot of new positions there that they're going to have to shore it up and try to get some stops defensively.
We've talked about a lot of teams that have been impressive in the early part of the season here in East Alabama. No team has been more impressive than this team. The number 2 ranked team in Class 4A, the Cherokee County Warriors. They are making their first ever trip over to Coleman County to take on what's always a solid Good Hope Raider team. But I just don't think that Good Hope so far, they're 1-1. I don't think they have seen anywhere near the talent and skill level of what Jacob Kelly and the Warriors are about to bring over to the west part of Coleman County.
Yeah, and unlike Namath, I can say this. Cornejo is an excellent running back. I mean, he's got 200 yards last week. Seems like every week you pick up the stats, and he's at 203 to 4 touchdowns. He is an impossible guy to stop on the other side. Good Hope are averaging 35 points a game, but in my eyes, Cherokee County's playing as well as anybody Class 1 through 7A.
They are for sure the clear favorite to win the North in Class 4A. This will be their first region game there in Class 4A Region 6. Now, we've got another Thursday night game coming up. We mentioned the game down south at Legion Stadium in Sylacauga tonight between Sylacauga and Elmore County. This game moved to a Thursday night. That's Galesville. Roy Knapfield up in Galesville playing host to Coosa Christian. And Tommy, I saw Coosa Christian play last week, and Coosa is a legit threat to go to the Super 7 in 1A. They're as good as anybody, I think, in Class 1A. Talent level for a 1A team is off the charts. They created a lot of turnovers last week, basically created 5-6 turnovers against Spring Garden. Galesville, on the other hand, in that loss to West End, they had 6 turnovers in that game. So that's, I think, the key stat to watch tonight. But Coosa Christian, if you're looking to see a solid 1A football team, go out to Galesville tonight and watch that game.
Yeah, right now they're playing at a different level. And you talk about Galesville trying to get things on track. So far, they're averaging giving up 50 points a game and have yet to score. So Galesville's really got a tough hill to climb here, and Coosa Christian coming in, and they are loaded.
Let's also take a look now at another game involving a Cherokee County team, and that's the game involving Cedar Bluff and Woodville. I'll point you to that stat right there. Cedar Bluff has never, ever lost to Woodville. They are 15-0 against the Panthers. And now Cedar Bluff and Woodville meet one more time. Tommy, I'll be honest with you, no offense to the folks up in Jackson County at Woodville, but I don't see it changing.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, Sanders, they're a great team coming in. And again, Cedar Bluff, Coach Garrett Crane got his first win last week. It's their first home game. But on the other side, Woodville, coached by my former high school teammate, Joel Poole. He's got a good quarterback in Sam Peak. So, again, it could be tough roads for Woodville to handle, but Cedar Bluff, a good football team.
All right, we are continuing on as we talk about high school football games here in East Alabama. ATCU, we need to tell you about Alabama Teachers Credit Union. The Alabama Teachers Credit Union, go to atcu.com. They've got great rates right now, great loan rates. They call it jump for joy rates. You go to Alabama Teachers Credit Union. The website is atcu.com, and jump for joy at how good those rates are at ATCU. If you live, work, or you're a student in Calhoun, Etowah, Cherokee, DeKalb, or Marshall counties, you can join Alabama Teachers Credit Union. For more details, go to atcu.com. They also bring you our ATCU Bottom Line on Friday nights on After the Game with all the scores in East Alabama. We'll be back with more of Before the Game, presented by Northeast Orthopedics.
Dedication to the people of this area and involvement in the issues that matter most to his constituents. These are the characteristics of State Representative Randy Wood. Randy was a small business owner for almost 4 decades. He's a member of the Weaver Lions Club, Fraternal Order of Police, and served 6 years in the Alabama National Guard. State Representative Randy Wood, proudly serving the people of District 36 since 2002.
It's been almost a year since East Alabama Now Local News began telling you what was happening in your community and on your street.
That's right. Local makes such a difference. And the great part is you can participate with us. Every weekday evening around 6:30 on either Facebook or YouTube, East Alabama Now Local News comes straight to you. Be sure to join us. Visit us on our Facebook page or our YouTube page. It's not local without you. Your news on your schedule.
Whether you're cheering for your team or chasing a personal fitness goal, nothing is more frustrating than an injury that keeps you from the things you love. At Northeast Orthopedics, we understand that life is constantly moving, and we are committed to making sure you keep moving as well. No matter your orthopedic need, Northeast Orthopedics has you covered with 6 convenient locations and 7 highly skilled surgeons. Visit us at northeastorthopedics.com for more information. Northeast Orthopedics, keeping you in motion.
State Representative Randy Wood is a great supporter of not only high school athletics and high schools, but everything going on in East Alabama, and also a supporter of this show. Randy Wood, quality, dedication, integrity. And let me tell you one thing about Randy Wood out of District 36. The issues that are important to all the people in House District 36, they're important to Randy Wood as well. House Representative District 36 Randy Wood bringing you Before the Game here on Facebook and YouTube every week. Back on Before the Game, presented by Northeast Orthopedics. John Holder, Tommy Wood with you. Our final segment here as we go through all the games here in East Alabama on this Thursday and Friday. A couple of Thursday night games, but Friday night games going on as well. So let's jump back in and start taking a look at some of the games going on. Southeastern and Gaston. Gaston traveling over to Rim Lap to take on the Southeastern Mustangs. Southeastern, I think, a bit of an upset. Lost to Raglan last week. Gaston lost at home to Appalachian. But I tell you, we're seeing great effort out off of this Gaston team. I know that their new head coach, who's only been there about a month, Alan Beckett, is really pleased with the effort. One of the things he said this week, Tommy, was we just want to win every quarter. Yeah. Our challenge to building a program is 1 quarter at a time. Don't worry about a game. Don't worry about the season, the next opponent. Let's worry about winning this quarter. And he felt like last week against Appalachian that maybe the third quarter they came out and they won that third quarter. So can they win some more quarters over at Southeastern?
Yeah, that's the thing about it, is winning a quarter at a time is a great approach to it. And he felt like they got better as the game went on. They did fall 35-0, did not tackle well, according to Coach Beckett. You got Jared Williams coming in from Southeastern. They played a really tough game last week against Raglan before falling 13-6.
The 80th meeting coming up. We talk about rivalries. This is one of the best and the oldest rivalries in all of East Alabama. Hoax Bluff and Glencoe meeting for the 80th time. This is a streaky series. Hoax Bluff wins a lot of them. Then Glencoe wins a lot. Now Hoax Bluff is on the current win streak right here. These two teams, next door neighbors, been playing each other forever. I think they played every year, Tommy, since 1944. And they know each other very well. A lot of them are related to each other. We'll have highlights of this game coming up tomorrow night on After the Game. Hoax Bluff, I think they're a lot better football team. You got to remember, last week against Southside, that's a 3A versus a 5A on the 5A field. I think in 3A they're going to be fine. And Glencoe with that huge win last week against Weaver. This is, again, two pretty good, solid 3A teams.
Yeah, I think so. And I love these old rivalries, too. When you get to talking about these teams that get together for 80th meetings, that's what high school football is all about, especially in this area. And you talk about Glencoe getting that big win, 24-20. That is a huge confidence builder, because you talk about Weaver. They came in and played extremely well to get the win there. And now you've got on the other side a team taking on another rival for the second week in a row.
There's one team that has made, I think, in East Alabama as much improvement as anybody else, and that's Gadsden City. Gadsden City, they opened up with an impressive win at home against Carver Montgomery. They played Hewitt-Trussville last week, and though they lost the football game, last year they lost to Hewitt-Trussville by 47 points. Gave up 64. This time, yeah, they lost by 15 points, but there's a big gap between 47 and 15. It is a much improved Gadsden City team. TJ Worthy, the great running back, probably as underrated running back as there is in the state. Now they go to Buckhorn Open Region play. Last year, Gadsden City went undefeated in this region. I think the Titans can do it again.
Yeah, I think they're playing well. I think that they're going to continue to improve. They played a tough team last week, and then now taking on Buckhorn on the road. First home game for Buckhorn, but I'm like you. I think Gadsden City with an excellent shot here.
A lot of big games going on around the state of Alabama as well on this Football Friday. Coming up, we've got a big game down in the Wiregrass in 2A. A lot of good football teams in 2A in the Wiregrass. Here's two of them. Number 7 Goshen in Pike County, right outside of Troy. They will be playing host to number 2 Highland Home, the Flying Squadron. Highland Home has been very good. They've been probably a top 5 or 6 team in Class 2A the last couple of years. Ranked number 2 right behind BB Comer now. Should be a good matchup down in South Alabama.
And you talk about Highland Home, they've given up 1 touchdown all year. Jacaleb Falk, who's already committed to Auburn, an excellent defensive end, he leads the way for the Flying Squadron. On the other side, you got Goshen. They have lost 3 straight to Highland Home. This series, though, 30-29 in favor of the Flying Squadron.
Even though one team is in Pike County and one team's in Crenshaw County, mileage-wise, they're very close. This will be a big rival game, a region game also down in South Alabama. Continue to look at some of the statewide games around the state. This one, on the face of it, people are going, Faith Academy, I don't know much about them. Is that Faith Christian in Anniston? No, this is the 5A Faith Academy of Mobile and Gulf Shores. But these are two top 10 teams, top 10 programs in Class 5A football playing in Mobile. And Tommy, if folks keep up with 5A football, they know over the last couple of years, Gulf Shores and Faith Academy have been as good as anybody in 5A football.
Well, folks know that I'm from Clay Central. They have ended our season the last 2 years, these two teams respectively. Faith Academy, they're going to throw the football around. They got a quarterback in Jared Daughtry who can really sling the football. On the other side, you've got Gulf Shores playing extremely well. Of course, Ronnie Royal is there, and they lead the offense. They are a very ground and pound type atmosphere. So Gulf Shores and Faith Academy, and they don't get along very well either down there in that Mobile area. These are two teams that really get after each other.
You know, if you go back probably 15 so years ago, these two, Faith Academy was in the AISA, Gulf Shores didn't exist, and now they're two of the top programs on the entire Gulf Coast, certainly two of the top programs in all Class 5A. Continuing now to look at statewide games, there's another one in South Alabama. Number 1, the defending state champion Saraland, taking on number 10 St. Paul's Episcopal Mobile. This is out at Saraland. These two schools, 8 miles apart, something like that, right there on I-65 as you head into Mobile. Tommy, there are a lot of folks, they've heard about Ryan Williams, the great wide receiver who some folks think may be the best wide receiver the state's ever produced. That includes Julio Jones and Ozzie Newsome and people like that. But I'll tell you, there's a lot of folks that think that Saraland might be the best team in this state, regardless of classification, 1A through 7A, that they may be the best team that our state has to offer this year.
Oh, absolutely. They've got all the talent. KJ Lacey is the quarterback for Saraland. He's committed to Texas. He is an outstanding quarterback. And as you said, Ryan Williams, reigning Mr. Football, is a sophomore. He's back. On the other side, St. Paul's has been playing good defense, but you got to wonder, have they seen the talent that they're going to see tomorrow night?
Now you got a Texas commit throwing to an Alabama commit on the eve, I should say, of that big Alabama-Texas game.
They may ride to the game together Saturday,
Yeah, they may not ride back, though.
That's right.
We'll see. More top 10 matchups around the state of Alabama. I think this is the biggest game in the state. Namath Pitts is going to pick this game coming up in our Pitts Pick'ems contest. Number 1 Thompson at home in Alabaster against number 4 Vestavia Hills. Tommy, it looks like that Vestavia Hills is making the move in Class 7A Region 3.
I agree. I think they're getting into the thick of things. They're one of those that seems to be ever so close, and I think this year is the year for them to make a lot of noise in 7A. Quarterback John Paul Head getting it done for Vestavia Hills. He's been playing extremely well, and on the other side, Thompson is still Thompson, but it's going to be a great matchup tomorrow night.
Coach Evans has got Vestavia Hills making that move into the elite, the upper level of 7A football in this state, and that's a huge game tomorrow. Region game, as we said, in 7A Region 3 between Thompson and Vestavia Hills. And let's also look at this game. Last week, one of the big scores that we saw around the state was Enterprise going into Duck Sanford Stadium and beating Auburn, upsetting them. Now Enterprise comes back. Last week they named the stadium for the legendary Enterprise coach Bill Bacon, and they're going to come back and they are going to be hosting number 2 Central of Phoenix City. This is also a region game, number 2 versus number 3 in the state at Enterprise. Tommy, I don't think it's a stretch to say I can't remember the last time that Enterprise has been in a football game this big.
No, I don't think so. Now they got 2 weeks in a row. I mean, like you said last week, getting that win over Auburn, last second field goal, that does a lot for the confidence of Enterprise coming in. But taking on a Central Phoenix City team that's averaging 50 points a game, and they've got stars all over the field. But let's see, Enterprise is kind of what we're talking about, Vestavia Hills. Can they make that jump and get into the elite?
Yeah, statewide games, a lot of big ones around the state of Alabama, and we've been previewing all of those big statewide games. Enterprise, Central Phoenix City, as big as any of those coming up. All right, we will come back with more of high school football Alabama's Before the Game. Pitts Pick'ems, presented by Big Woody's Tires. He made a lot of friends and a few enemies last week, so Namath is next.
It's been almost a year since East Alabama Now Local News began telling you what was happening in your community and on your street.
That's right. Local makes such a difference. And the great part is you can participate with us. Every weekday evening around 6:30 on either Facebook or YouTube, East Alabama Now Local News comes straight to you. Be sure to join us. Visit us on our Facebook page or our YouTube page. It's not local without you. Your news on your schedule.
Whether you're cheering for your team or chasing a personal fitness goal, nothing is more frustrating than an injury that keeps you from the things you love. At Northeast Orthopedics, we understand that life is constantly moving, and we are committed to making sure you keep moving as well. No matter your orthopedic need, Northeast Orthopedics has you covered with 6 convenient locations and 7 highly skilled surgeons. Visit us at northeastorthopedics.com for more information. Northeast Orthopedics, keeping you in motion.
Dedication to the people of this area and involvement in the issues that matter most to his constituents. These are the characteristics of State Representative Randy Wood. Randy was a small business owner for almost 4 decades. He's a member of the Weaver Lions Club, Fraternal Order of Police, and served 6 years in the Alabama National Guard. State Representative Randy Wood, proudly serving the people of District 36 since 2002.
Big Woody's Tires on Highway 202 in Anniston is a proud supporter of high school football, Alabama. Before the game, Big Woody's got new tires and used tires. He can literally hook you up with any size you need. They do rim work. Whatever you need, go see Big Woody on Highway 202 in Anniston. That's the black and orange shop, Gary Woodard. And again, he is a proud supporter of high school football, Alabama, before the game. Big
Woody's Tires bringing you before the game Pitts Pick'ems with Namath Pitts on this football Thursday. There's the record. I wouldn't say it's exactly sparkling, but 13-7 after 2 weeks. So a little bit above average, I would say. A little bit above average there. So we've got 10 games to pick. We always pick one statewide game. And let me tell you, last week, Namath made some people not happy across East Alabama with his picks. So he was on the hot seat. We came to Spring Garden, and before we could even get out of the car, they were already on Namath out at Spring Garden about his pick against the Panthers. Now, he turned out to be right, so retribution was his. But look at him. Come on, Spring Garden is what he's saying. All right, so you're going to have another chance with Spring Garden coming up. But before we get there, we're going to start off with the big statewide game, and that's the game between Thompson and Vestavia Hills. Class 7A Region 3 game at Alabaster. This is a game where Vestavia Hills right now has more buzz than any high school team, I think, in the state right now as far as the movement that they're making. This is the benchmark game. How far away is Vestavia Hills from the standard in the state, which the standard right now is the Thompson Warriors? Thompson, Vestavia, big game in 7A. What do you say?
You said it. Vestavia Hills has made a climb. They have made noise. They have proved that they are here to stay. Big win over Mountain Brook, another big win last week. Vestavia Hills has proven that they are a team that you need to keep an eye on in Class 7A football. But Thompson, John, they're the team to beat. And until they are beat by someone, I'm not going to pick any different than that. And so because of that, I'm going with Thompson over Vestavia Hills.
He's rolling with the power T, the Warriors. Namath Pitts says, sorry, Vestavia, close, but not yet. All right, our next game coming up. We got some tough games to pick this week. This might be the toughest. Piedmont and Sylvania, as we mentioned with Tommy earlier in the show, a lot of storylines in this game. These two teams are very familiar with each other. Piedmont leads the series 7-2, including 2 wins last year. Both of those at the Field of Champions. You know Sylvania has had this date marked on their calendar for a long time. Bulldogs and Rams on Sand Mountain.
Yeah, and there's a lot of unknowns for Piedmont. Obviously, Chance Murphy got hurt last week. What is his injury status? Cherokee County gave them a lot of opportunities last week to do something offensively, and Piedmont just never capitalized. There's some serious offensive issues, I think, early. Defensively, Jonathan Miller, we know he's a defensive-minded coach, so they show that defensively they're going to be really good. But you just said it, Sylvania has had this game on their schedule. This is the one they've wanted, and I really believe that because of the experience they have coming back, they return basically everyone, and because of the unknowns with Piedmont, I'm actually glad, I don't know if you'd call it an upset, but considered in previous years this would be an upset. I'm going with the Sylvania Rams.
Piedmont fans, Namath Pitts has picked against your Bulldogs 2 weeks in a row. He was right last week. Will he be right again? We'll find out on Friday night. Namath, game number 3, Raglan and Donahoe. Interesting game in Class 1A here. Donahoe trying to get that first win of the year. Raglan's been pretty tough. They played Vincent very closely, beat Southeastern last week. Donahoe's had a tough schedule. They played upper class teams. They played a 3A team and a 2A team. So what do you say here with Donahoe and Raglan?
Well, the last game we talked about offensive issues. This game it's defensive issues for Donahoe. I think they've got some serious defensive issues that they've got to figure out as they get into region play. I think Raglan is a really good team. They're going to build off the success that they had last year. I think this is, again, a really good game, but I think Raglan's ultimately going to run away with it, so I'm going with Raglan.
Namath Pitts says that Donahoe remains winless on the year as he picks the Purple Devils at Joan Ford Stadium in Raglan. Game number 4 in Pitts Pick'ems presented by Big Woody's Tires. This maybe a year ago, if you'd have said this is going to be one of the top and key games in Class 3A Region 6, people would have been like, I don't know about that. But this year, it definitely is. Ohatchee unbeaten, Westbrook Christian 1-0. Our last 2 after the game, our high school football Alabama after the game, Ted's Floors and Beyond Teams of the Week. Westbrook won it week 1. Ohatchee won it last week. We'll be out there tomorrow afternoon at their pep rally to present the Ted's Floors and Beyond trophy, the Tough Guy trophy, the Ted's t-shirts, the Anniston Orthopedic score shirts. We'll have those out there tomorrow as well. This is a key game. Every game this season in Class 3A Region 6 is going to be huge. This is one of those. Ohatchee and Westbrook. Steve Smith, Chris Finley against each other.
Yeah, I have a tremendous amount of respect for Steve Smith at Westbrook Christian. And I got to tell you, this is a game that Westbrook won a year ago, so you would expect with Steve Smith, now in charge, that they're going to do the same again. Not many people are going to pick against Steve Smith. Not many people are going to pick against Nick Saban. But I'm not many people. I'm Namath Pitts, and I picked Ohatchee week 0. I picked against them last week. They proved me wrong. I wished Coach Finley a happy birthday last week. It's Butterfinger Cake coming in studio tomorrow night. I'm going with Ohatchee. I'm going with the Indians.
You're going to give us a little tomahawk chop like you did that first
I
week?
will go with the tomahawk chop, baby.
All right.
Go Indians. I'll go that far.
Coach Finley and his wife may bring you an extra piece of Butterfinger cake tomorrow night for picking them to win the game. He's lobbying for it. Our next game on Pitts Pick'ems as we roll on is going to be a phenomenal game. I think it's the biggest game in East Alabama. Hanley, Jacksonville, right field in Roanoke. Class 4A Region 4 showdown. Number 5 versus number 6 in Class 4A. Two great quarterbacks in this game. Two teams are playing extremely well right now. Both teams putting up a lot of points. Hanley and Jacksonville. This a lot of folks think this might go a long way, and it probably will, in deciding who's the region champion.
Yeah, let me just start off by saying Katie Edwards. She does everything behind the scenes. You are loved by so many, and she has been waiting for us to do the Jacksonville Golden Eagles in the Pitts Pick'em. And Katie, I got to tell you, I got sad news for you tonight, because although we are picking Jacksonville and Hanley, there is no chance I'm going against Hanley in this game. There's no chance I'm going against Hanley the rest of the season. This team dominated St. James in a big way last week. And John, I got to be honest with you, I think Hanley dominates their way throughout the season and wins a Class 4A state championship. I'm going that far. I'm going with Hanley.
I can't add to that, folks. I can't add to what he said. He used the words "no chance." So there we go.
There's a chance. You got Jim Ogles at quarterback. You got Clint Smith, who I have a tremendous amount of respect for. Jacksonville's a really good team. And to be honest with you, I think they're the region runner-up. I think this is the region championship game.
All right. I think the Jacksonville folks now, get ready for the Jacksonville folks in the next 24 hours. Another game we'll have highlights of. I think this is a key game right here. I think this is a big game for the Pleasant Valley Raiders. It's a big game for West End, but I think it's an even bigger game for Pleasant Valley. If they want to get back to the playoffs for the first time in 13 years, I think this is one of those games they need to win. It's a big game for Jonathan Nix going against his alma mater in West End. They've got the game at home. They've got a lot of momentum. Pleasant Valley and West End, this is a tough game to pick, Naaman.
Last time Pleasant Valley had the biggest game in what I believe was in Jonathan Nix's career was when they played B.B. Comer at home, a chance to make the playoffs back a couple years ago, and they lost in heartbreaking fashion. I think this is probably the next biggest game he's had. This is a winnable game, a game that could really, I think the winner of this is in the driver's seat to maybe get in the playoffs. The loser is going to have a little bit of a problem trying to get in, but I think it's going to be another heartbreaking loss for Pleasant Valley. I've got to go with West End. I just feel like, I think Pleasant Valley's there, John, but I think they're about a year or two away. They're very young, and I think by the time we're in 2024, 2025, we're going to be talking about Pleasant Valley as a playoff team, something we haven't talked about since I've been alive. I'm just being honest. But West End this week, I got to go with them. I'm from West End, not Walnut Grove, but you get what I'm saying. I'm going with West End.
There's a big difference between the West End of Anniston and the West End of Walnut Grove. But nonetheless, I get your point there. You're both West End boys there. There you go. All right. So now this next game is going to be, I think, an interesting game on the face of it. Talladega, I think, is improved. I think Cleburne County is improved. Cleburne County, with the loss of Mount Zion off the schedule, and they got a win back that they lost last year at Northside last week. They beat Talladega last year. Talladega, I think, is improved. They had 2 weeks to get ready for this game. Battle of Tigers here, Talladega and Cleburne County.
Yeah, I'm going with the Tigers, and that's the Tigers of Cleburne County. I do think Talladega's got a little more athleticism than Cleburne County.
You don't want to just pick the Tigers and leave it at that?
No, I'm going to go with Cleburne County. I feel good about this one. I'm going to go with Coach Joby Burns. What did we say earlier? Cleburne County's first time starting off 2-0 in how long? Do we remember how many years it's been? It's been a while, probably since Coach Michael Short was there. So Coach Michael Short, who is still a big Cleburne County fan, I'm going with the Tigers. I'm going with Coach Joby Burns.
Well, this next game coming up, Namath, you have a chance to redeem yourself with the Spring Garden fans. You picked against Spring Garden last week. They let you know about it out at Spring Garden. Now they're going on the road to take on Wadley. They had a tough schedule. They played, I think, two of the better 1A teams in the state. I think Spring Garden's one of the better 1A teams in the state. Coosa last week, now going to Wadley, who's been very, very impressive. Early on, this looks like this might have the look of a region title game between Spring Garden and Wadley. Here's your chance, Namath, to redeem yourself with the Spring Garden fans.
That's right, Spring Garden. I don't apologize for picking Coosa Christian last week because I was right. But in this case, I have a feeling I could be wrong on this one. But I'm still going to go with Wadley. I think this comes down to running back play. I think Wilkes is going to get the job done. We saw Coosa Christian run right at them. But this is the region championship game. And John, you know I have a tremendous amount of respect for Spring Garden. I have a tremendous amount of respect for you and your alma mater. This is a team that's going to make another deep playoff run. And I think this is the region championship game. I truly do. And I even wanted to kind of switch this pick. Last week I picked Spring Garden and then switched. This week I picked Wadley and tried to switch, but they wouldn't let me. So I'm going with Wadley.
You are not going to be safe going back. Look at there. There's Namath,
Hey.
Wadley. Namath, Wadley. You're not going to be safe going back to Spring Garden anytime soon. They got long memories out there.
But I already got the steak sandwich. So, I mean, I'm good now. I got the steak sandwich. We're good.
So basically he's saying he's not going to come back to Spring Garden. But it's a long season, so we'll see. All right, let's see what's going on next. We got Lincoln and Southside. With the injury, I think Southside with Gage Neesmith was the prohibitive maybe favorite in this game. But now going to Lincoln against a very improved Lincoln team who has a lot of momentum. Southside now without their starting quarterback. This is a huge game in Class 5A Region 6 at Keith Howard Memorial Stadium. What do you think about what I think is going to be, I think this is a toss-up game between Lincoln and Southside.
Well, everything changed after losing Neesmith last week. I got to tell you, that's a big loss at quarterback for Southside Gaston. Obviously, we know that Mason Teague is more than capable of putting this team on his back. But if I was Lincoln, I would stack the box. I'd put 11 guys up. You know, Coach Zederker's talked about that tenacious defense that he has. And so let's see if that tenacious defense can lead them to a big region win. One thing, the reason why I'm going Lincoln is obviously the injury plays a big role in this. But if you remember back at Talladega County Media Day, Coach Zederker talked about one game on the schedule. There was one game. He said, we got to win this game if we want to make the playoffs. There's one team they kept talking about, John. That team was Southside Gaston. This is the game that Lincoln has had circled. This is the game that they will show up for. And the last time these two teams played out at Keith Howard Memorial Stadium, it was Lincoln that won that game. And I think that's a repeat this week due to the injury to Southside Gaston. I'm going with Lincoln.
Lincoln and Southside. All right, how many games have we picked so far?
This should be the last one, I believe.
9. We got one more.
One more.
One more chance, one more team to try to offend here, I guess, their fan base. And this is the big rival game. This is the big rival game here in East Alabama. Hoax Bluff and Glencoe will have highlights of this game. We'll have highlights of the Lincoln and Southside game as well. We'll have highlights of this game coming up from Mike Robertson Stadium out at Hoax Bluff. Coach Rob was with us on the show on after the game last Friday night, and he's seen a lot of these through the years. As a player, as an assistant coach, as a head coach, there's no one that knows more about this Hoax Bluff-Glencoe rivalry than Coach Rob does. Doing it one more time, the 80th meeting between Hoax Bluff and Glencoe.
I'm trying to get George Strait tickets for Coach Robertson. I'm trying to get golf lessons from Coach Scott Martin. So, you know, I'm trying to get something here on both sides.
So you're not going to pick this one then,
well,
right?
No, I'm going to pick. And I got to tell you, I can't believe that I'm actually picking against Scott Martin back-to-back weeks. Now, it hurt me last week. Last week, Glencoe lost when I picked them. But I just think, again, it comes back to the knowns. And I think we know more about Hoax Bluff. Even though they lost to Southside last week, that's a 5A program. You come back to playing a team that's in the same region as you, the same classification. And I just think Hoax Bluff showed some positives against Southside that I think they're going to be able to capitalize on. And Glencoe, man, they hate me probably after picking against them 2 weeks in a row. But you want to know where one of my favorite places to go on a Friday night is? True story, Glencoe. And so I got to tell you, I love Glencoe. My cousin graduated from Glencoe. She would be mad that I'm picking against them 2 weeks in a row. But I saw Coach Robertson in here last week. I can't. I got to make sure I get a good relationship going right there. So I'm going with Hoax Bluff.
You may like going to Glencoe, but Glencoe after these last couple weeks, they might not like you coming there. So we'll see about that. So there we go, trying to improve on that 6-4 record from last week with the 10 games this week with Pitts Pick'ems presented by the folks at Big Woody's Tires. Couple of games tonight, full slate tomorrow night. Be sure to join us tomorrow night, live 10 o'clock on High School Football Alabama's After the Game. Scores, highlights, interviews. Hey, the White Plains High School cheerleaders will be with us live in studio tomorrow night as well. Region standings for the first week of the season and a whole lot more. Maybe some Butterfinger cake coming in the studio. We'll show you that. All of that happening tomorrow night on After the Game. High School Football Alabama live on Facebook, YouTube, and at highschoolfootballalabama.com. We'll see you tomorrow night at 10 o'clock.